Hello and welcome to the first episode of a brand new podcast. I am your host, haddowinc.
And I'm your co-host, NGM.
Now, this show is going to be all about news, gaming, TV and film news, plus discussions about all your favourite topics in pop culture, whether it be cinematic universes, game series that have just gone on for far too many years, or anything else in between.
Everything else in between, I'd say.
Everything, exactly. Unless it's not film, TV or games. Because then that's not really our wheelhouse.
No, okay.
Essentially, the way we want to work this is we're going to do it for 12 weeks over this summer and see basically what the reception is like to it. The whole format will be covering the news stories from the week, followed by a main discussion over something larger in the area of pop culture. So, I think possibly time to get on with the news.
Yes, is that me starting?
Yeah, if you want to start.
Okay, so I've got film news and TV news lined up. Firstly, have you heard Eddie Redmayne has been cast in the Harry Potter spin-off film?
This is Wonderful Magical Beast and Where to Find Them, or something along those lines?
Yeah, that's the one. He's playing Newt, the central protagonist. You an Eddie Redmayne fan?
What's he been in?
He was in The Theory of Everything.
Oh, right, yeah. Oh, I do quite like him, yeah.
He's cut-size Benedict Cumberbatch, basically. he's that default go-to British actor now at the moment, it seems. Sad news. Disney has cut Tron 3 from its schedule.
No.
Did you watch Tron Legacy?
No.
Oh. Well, I really enjoyed Tron Legacy. me and a couple of other people, I expect, are disappointed with that. But, and this... Oh, cinematic universes you were mentioning earlier. The creators of Transformers are spinning off the central Transformers films to create a cinematic universe, supposedly starting with a film centred around Bumblebee.
Oh, wow. That's going to be interesting.
Interesting. I'm actually, again, in a small niche that quite enjoys the Transformers films, but, I mean, even I would admit there's a slight problem with originality in the current.
Yeah, it only works as a spin-off if you like the superhero ones. They work individually. Like you had each of them as individual comics, and the two comics where they were together. That's why it works as a cinematic universe. I don't remember ever watching the cartoon that was named The Bumblebee Show on a Saturday morning. So.
The problem is I'm finding at the moment is that also Legendary, the production company.
Oh yeah.
They've created Godzilla and Pacific Rim, and in the next couple of years they're producing a King Kong prequel called Skull Island, and their idea is also to build a universe around these three franchises.
I've heard briefings about this because it was a big thing at one point to have all those Godzilla films. There's like Godzilla v Mothra, Godzilla v all these other things. So I mean, it would potentially be good as just mindless action movies.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends if Godzilla actually appears in the Godzilla sequel, because he very briefly appeared in the first one.
Okay, I will admit I haven't even seen the first one yet.
I haven't. That's the only criticism I've heard of it. Is that the two things they advertised about the film were Bryan Cranston and Godzilla, neither of which appear in much of the film.
Do I sense a spoiler alert coming up here?
Oh,
about
sorry.
Bryan Cranston's character. A spoiler alert.
Yeah. Sorry,
I haven't seen the film either. Don't worry. It was spoilt for me. It can be spoilt for you.
The film's been out for a while. Then we're probably going to spoil it. The same with games and games and TV essentially.
Right, what have I also got? Keeping away from films, the 24 spin-off is not starring Kiefer Sutherland.
So, what is this? Is it 25?
23? I don't know. But again, that's literally all I've heard about it. I'm not sure if anyone's a 24 fan, but apparently I felt obliged to put that on my list. Channel 4 have got a new interesting drama coming up, starting the 14th of June. It's called Humans. And if you'd watched any of the previous Channel 4 dramas in this ilk, like Utopia, you'll know that that Humans will be another good one. That's one I'd recommend. You watched Gotham, didn't you?
I've seen like clips, but I haven't actually sat down to watch it yet.
No, I didn't really. But Series 2, we know that Harvey Dent will apparently be a series regular. So, Gotham fans, there's some...
I mean, unfortunately, Gotham seems to be getting shadowed somewhat by all the Marvel TV shows.
Like the much better Daredevil.
Or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which has a lot much stronger ties to the movies. So there's... Which is a plus and a minus, because it gives you more incentive to tune in, but...
And Samuel Jackson, of course, that's always a big draw, isn't it? I think that's what a company does if they know their film program isn't going to get as much hype as they want, is they just add Samuel Jackson.
He didn't actually appear in season 2 at all, which was...
Did he not?
No. I mean, they did have some good... they had some good guest stars on it, though. They had... I'm forgetting his name now.
Coulson?
Yeah, well...
Oh, no, he's in it anyway, isn't he?
Yeah, Coulson's in it as the lead. He does a very good job. But they had... if you'd ever seen How I Met Your Mother, there's a recurring character called the Captain, who's just this eccentric old man billionaire. And he plays, essentially, Dr. Hyde, like Mr. Jekyll, Mr. You know.
Right. Okay.
There's like one of the Marvel lesser Marvel characters in it, where he's just a bit mentally unstable. He does a very he hams up every single scene he's in. He's just so over the top, but it's so great to watch. It's so comic book. There's at one point where he turns into oh no, I don't want to give spoilers, but just watch it I
think it's a bit too late for the spoiler alerts, isn't it? Yeah,
but considering this episode only would have aired a few weeks ago, I want to be a bit more conservative about that, but he just comes in, like, it's a serious scene, and then you're just like, for fuck's sake, what are you doing? When he's, like, prancing around doing his whole, like, crazy man act. It's quite fun.
You've watched Age of Ultron, I presume?
Yes.
Did you note that, I've forgotten Joss Whedon? Yes, Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
He sort of negated the fact that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. existed. I find that interesting.
Well, the thing is, usually Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as itself, there is some kind of plot tie-in to one of the movies. Like, sometimes it's a bit more. Like, there have been... there's an Asgardian that sometimes shows up in the series in connection to the 4 films.
But Joss Whedon, because obviously he killed Coulson in the first Avengers film. Spoiler, but you've probably already seen the first Avengers film. And he sort of said that he didn't think it was right that he came back in the show. And he sort of disagreed with that, hence why he didn't appear in Age of Ultron.
I think if Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had gone down had just flopped, I think Coulson may have seen some kind of reintroduction.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it was a bit weird. Just the plot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was just so far off Age of Ultron. So I was like, so how are they going to bring this back? And then it's just in one of the episodes, they're all looking at a TV screen with the events of Age of Ultron on it. And then they just go back to what they were doing. It was like, what?
I like the fact that Daredevil, which I think is probably my favourite... I know it's not technically phase... What are we on, 3? 2?
We're entering 3. I think Ant-Man is the last of 2.
Oh, okay. Well, I know that Daredevil wasn't technically synced with all the films and stuff, but I think that was probably my favourite product of phase 2/3, and that made very subtle references to the rest of the cinematic universe, which I quite liked actually, because it sort of gave it a little bit less centred, and you could sort of focus on those characters a bit more rather than expecting Captain America to pop up and this, that and the other. We'll get back to the Marvel universe in a bit. Actually, I say that, my next piece of news. Marvel's new Spider-Man.
Oh yes, I've been hearing.
It's set to be announced this week, apparently, with the front runners including Tom Holland, who starred in The Impossible, and Asa Butterfield from The Boy in the Striped Pajamas / Merlin / pretty much.
I've looked up a bit about this, and one idea I saw online, which I quite liked, was it's a big shame they're not doing, is that they're still kind of going for the Peter Parker. Well, this will be the third Peter Parker we've had in 15 years.
Oh right, in the Spider.
And there's in the Spider-Man universe, in a few of the universes, because obviously you have the Ultimate Universe and the other
Yeah.
universes. One of them, he passes it on to like a black guy called Miles.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a lot of people saying that would be a good way of
I mean,
passing
yes.
on
I mean,
to Marvel.
obviously that'd be a great way of doing it. But I think Civil War is obviously going head on with some of DC's upcoming stuff, and I think Peter Parker, the character that people are familiar with, is going to be a very big push for the cinema goers, I believe.
They might as well just cut out the middleman and have him regenerate.
But actually, while we're on the subject of the upcoming, what was I talking about? DC films, yes. Batman vs Superman. I know the trailer came out a few weeks ago, but what are your thoughts?
It looks dark, like
Disappointing.
Yeah, it looks very much grey and stuff like that, and I don't know. I think I'll have to see it to get some kind of feel for it. But it all feels like it's trying to be like the serious one, like trying to appeal to the people who maybe think that the Marvel films are too colourful and happy and kind of like, oh, you want the dark storylines? You should come over here.
Yeah, exactly. They've copy and pasted whatever edit style Christopher Nolan put on his successful Batman films and just applied it to even bloody Aquaman. They tried to make him look all brooding and angry. But one thing I am really excited about is Suicide Squad.
Yeah, Suicide Squad does look interesting. But
in the last week, we've also added the news that footage of Batman appearing on set, which I just love. This film looks like it's not trying to take itself too seriously. I think it's got a pretty eccentric sort of storyline to focus on. It's all got colours and things, unlike any of the other DC stuff at the moment.
I mean, I'm not sure if I'm sure you've seen that design of the Joker by now. I'm not really sure what I feel about like the tattoo on his forehead and stuff like that.
I think it will be. I think there'll be sort of various designs with them, though. I think it looks like they're starting to layer up the character a little bit more. From what I've seen from set photos, he appears to sometimes have the white face makeup on and covering the tattoos and this, that, and the other. I think it's interesting how, like, if you saw the set footage of the Batmobile and everything, he had this sort of big purple supercar. I really like how they're sort of going back to a bit of silliness, because I think that's exactly what the DC universe needs right now. Because, I mean, I don't know, maybe Aquaman will surprise us all, but
it would make a great plot for if you wanted to make a film based on like one of the like legendary sea gods from Roman or like Greek mythology. But for Aquaman, I think everyone's too used to the word Aquaman coming up and then thinking of the gold suit and the kind of slightly
It's a punchline, isn't it? It's a punchline. Yeah. But no, I mean, overall, I'm looking forward to at least seeing what DC do with the cinematic universe. Right, and I don't know if you wanted to move on to your news at all, but or should we save the DC Marvel discussion for?
Let's save it for later.
Yeah.
Let's just do a roundup of the game news.
Hang on, can I do a jingle?
Yeah, sure.
Gaming news.
I mean, now it's inconsistent because we didn't have one for TV and film.
Okay. Well, I'll record one now, and we'll edit this in at the beginning, or we might not, depending on.
I think it might be funny just to leave it at this point.
Okay. Film and TV news. Okay.
Yes, and so now we move on to gaming news. As I know you're such a big fan of those yearly FIFA games, Nick.
Yay.
This year, for the first time ever, you'll get the chance to play as women's international players.
Or won't get the chance to play as women's, because I haven't been playing as anyone for the last few years, because they're boring.
I mean, it's nice that female players have finally made the cut. I mean,
oh yeah, of course, don't get me wrong.
But, I mean, it does come after they've already included a few Arabic League teams. It still seems like they might be slightly far down the pecking order from in terms of mainstream football successes, because I can't remember the last time you saw any kind of hype about Arabic football teams, whereas the Women's World Cup at least gets televised on like ITV5 or something.
I mean, if you really do want to boycott these games for sexism and racism or whatever, you could just ignore them entirely and go out and play a game of football with your friends. It's a ludicrous suggestion, but...
I mean, talking about, on the subject, I mean, there is going to be a game soon where you can make Princess Peach a hooker.
Right.
Because they have just announced Mario and Sonic at the 2016 Olympic Games, because of course they have, and one of the new sports includes rugby.
Oh, okay, right, got you.
So you'll be able to play rugby sevens with all your favourite people, and I hope...
Fantastic. That's what I've always wanted to do. I wanted to play Sonic playing cricket or whatever.
I hope with the increased technology as well, you'll get to see like Mario's tooth fall out after a particularly bad tackle, and just all the team doing a line-up at the end and just all smiling, just teeth missing, bloody bruises, black eyes.
Or if they have football, maybe like they could just be sort of lying on the ground, clutching their leg for about 20 minutes, just going, "Oh, mamma mia, my leg is thing."
Oh, football has been added to the roster as well, but that's less interesting than rugby because there are tons of football games out there. But
because you can't make hooker puns out of football. So.
No, I can't make hooker puns out of football, except maybe the footballers themselves. But yes, so maybe there'll be a button which lets Bowser throw himself on the floor and grab his knee in agony. Trying to, and like looking at the ref kind of suspiciously, like, do I get a card for this? Mario tackled me violently.
This is a point where I could make a joke about all the FIFA officials being arrested, but I don't know enough about it to make a joke on it. So insert FIFA official joke here.
See, I do know a bit about that. I didn't. It's just sort of they're corrupt and they're taking bribes, and that's wrong.
No.
And finally,
footballer and football managers are money grabbers. No.
And
I
it's
will not believe it.
Whole suspicion about a country getting the 2022 World Cup when it is so hot in the summer that you can't play football.
It's Qatar, isn't it? Yeah, I did hear about that, and I'd probably dismiss that as something I don't care about as well.
Well, it's funny enough that the country that it's unsafe for people to play football in the summer, and multiple people have died in the construction of stadiums. Funnily enough, this has aroused suspicions of the authorities enough to look into FIFA. And the FIFA president, do you want to know what he said?
What did the FIFA president say?
He said, "A lot of things happen all the time. I can't be expected to keep an eye on all of it."
Right, okay.
And he is in charge of FIFA, and these are all his executives that have been arrested by the FBI, so... Yes. But enough of real world news, let's go back to games, because that's where the important things are happening.
Let's get back to the real world.
Lego has launched their answer to Minecraft about 2 years after it was relevant. It's called Lego Worlds, and it is essentially Minecraft with Lego bricks. It's launched yesterday, that's June the 1st, for early access on Steam. So it will be all the fun of Lego without any of the pain of stepping on it.
Oh, actually, did you hear? There's you know that I can't even remember what it's called. You probably know more about this than me. You know those Nintendo things that you put on the
the
platforms?
Amiibo.
Yeah, Lego are doing an answer to that.
Yes, that's Lego Dimensions.
Lego Dimensions, and it includes Doctor Who
and Back to the Future as well.
And Back to the Future. Lego Doctor Who is a thing, and I am 12 years too late. That is so annoying.
I like how you had to look that up.
Yeah. How old am I? I don't know. When was it acceptable to play Lego?
Well, most of the boxes have just a plus on it, so once you're over the age, you're fine.
I can still go back to it. I'm going to buy Lego Dimensions. Fuck it.
I mean, the problem is, if there's too many sets that are all Toys to Life, the whole thing about Toys to Life is they work with multiple games, but they're also quite expensive, and if these Lego sets are too expensive, then it's just going to create a bit of saturation because you already have the Amiibo, the Skylanders, the Disney Infinity, and then you'll have Lego as well.
That's cramming in Star Wars as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and the Lego one. So
I think
if you want a Star Wars based game where you put the little characters on platforms and play around, then you've got two choices.
Yes.
Consumer advice there.
I mean, I hope this doesn't take up all the developers' time. I do quite enjoy the original, like the normal Lego games, and these projects, like, they're all right. Like, but I'm not sure if I'd see myself spending too much time with them.
No.
It depends. Obviously, the support they get going into the future, and like how much they develop and things like that. Because the only thing I'd say about the Amiibo is that they can be used with more than one game. A lot of them.
Yeah.
Whereas these are all kind of one game things, and it's an awful lot of money to put into a game.
I'm looking forward to just the standard Lego Doctor Who to be released on Steam, because that will happen. Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. But
oh, actually, did you see someone actually did a like a mock-up of it?
No. Oh.
If you go on YouTube, you can see someone like I don't know how they did it. They rendered some sort of Lego Doctor Who game, and it's got a really cool. It's got pretty much the same format as like Lego Star Wars and stuff. But you're going around using the sonic screwdriver and stuff. And I'm 19.
I'm almost 20. Yes, but speaking of Nintendo, they've just released Splatoon to the world, which is their first new major intellectual property in 14 years. Bear in mind that is saying that the last one was Pikmin, whereas since they've had quite a few minor ones released as downloadable titles on their eShop, but this is the first big one to have a real big push and a retail release, and apparently it's selling very well. Apparently it's sold out in Japan.
Yeah, in Japan.
Yeah, I mean, they do love their squids and their kids turning into squids. But no, I got a chance to play it yesterday because the person, someone who's moving into our house next year, has a Wii U as well, and he'd bought Splatoon, so he bought it round, and I got a chance to play it. It's actually quite fun. I'm just no good at shooters because at the end of the day, it is a third-person shooter, like say Star Wars Battlefront.
Is it the one with all the paint and stuff?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I saw that advertised actually. Yeah.
Was that the advertisement with the "You're a squid now, you're a kid now" song? Because I don't know what region that advert was played in. All I know is that somebody looped it, and I looped it into the background of one of their videos, and now I can't get it out of my head.
You're a squid now, you're a kid now.
You're a squid now, you're a kid now. You're a squid, you're a kid, you're a squid.
Oh, it might be that actually. That can that be our theme tune to this podcast? And then the best thing is we'll play it right at the beginning, and then people won't know why that's our theme tune until. How many minutes are we through this?
Like 25?
Yeah, they won't know until 25 minutes through it why that's our theme tune. And then if they give up on our podcast, which they won't, they'll feel like a loser because they won't know why we're using "You're a squid now, you're a kid now" as our theme tune. So they'll have to stay with it, you know.
But yeah, the only other news is this is news that's been accumulating over the last few weeks, but there's been a recent stream of quite successful Kickstarters for old, like, spiritual sequels, which is when the people who used to develop these popular games in the past have obviously left their developer, and the developer retains the copyright.
The rights, yeah.
So they just go and say essentially they change as much as they need to make it pretty much legal, and now they're just making more. So the most popular of these is the British developers making a game called Ukulele, which is a spiritual sequel to Banjo-Kazooie.
Banjo-Ukulele, yeah, that makes sense.
So this one, rather than being a bear and bird, it's about a chameleon and a bat.
Brilliant.
And it has broken multiple Kickstarter records because it made its funding goal in 40 minutes.
Really?
And it is now on the verge of breaking 10 times what it needs.
Wow.
It's close to £2 million funded.
£2 million. I'm gonna go on Kickstarter. I want a new car, or I want.
Well, the thing is, I'm not sure how you'd be at what your reward tiers would be. Like, if you pledge £5, I will give you a lift. So yeah, there's also the person who originally created the Castlevania games, if you've ever heard of them.
Castlevania, no.
He's started one which is called Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which has
Ritual of the Night,
which has also made a lot of money. Although he's not solely funding it from Kickstarter, but the publisher that he's in talks with wanted to see that the audience was there. So the money that he's made from Kickstarter will make up around a fifth of the budget, I think.
Oh, okay.
But it's essentially that made lots of money as well, and this follows in the footsteps of last year's big success, which was a spiritual sequel to Mega Man, which is due out in September.
Yay! No, actually, I did quite like Mega Man whenever I played it that one time that you should probably show.
Yeah. Well, if you ever get told that we don't make games like that anymore because they won't get bought, that's probably a lie.
Because Kickstarter
is just the developers going, nah, I think if we make it, people will buy it. And it's the publishers going, yeah, we'd like to see you try. And getting slightly embarrassed by it.
The discussion.
Right, so this week we were going to discuss the Marvel films. Am I right?
Yes, the Marvel versus DC argument, I think we're going for, maybe?
I think we're going to review Marvel Phase 2 to start off with.
Okay, that makes sense.
As it's almost over. And then once we've built once you've heard our opinions on the individual films, our comparisons won't sound so out of the blue.
Okay, right.
So, Marvel Phase 2 will be over very soon with the release of Ant-Man.
Right, have you got a list?
Of Marvel Phase 2 films?
Yeah.
I can pretty much list them, I think, off the top of my head. It should be Iron Man 3, 4-2, Captain America 2, Guardians of the Galaxy, Age of Ultron, Ant-Man. Like, I think it's those 6 films, plus the related TV and other media, but we'll start off on the films.
Your favourites? You liked Civil War. No, not Civil War. Winter Soldier. And
Guardians of the Galaxy. I say those are the top 2. Even after seeing Age of Ultron, I'd still say those are the top 2.
Guardians of the Galaxy I watched on DVD after the hype.
Me too, yeah.
And it had been built up quite a lot to me, so I didn't feel disappointed by it, but I think it was perhaps slightly overrated for me.
Yeah, well, that's the problem when, like, there's lots of hype surrounding a thing.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing happened to me with Fight Club, because everyone was like, oh, the twist at the end. They didn't actually say the twist at the end, they just said there was a twist in the end. And then when the twist came up, it was like, oh, yeah.
That's nice.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think, no, I did really enjoy it. I watched it at Christmas time when I was catching up on a lot of films. That's when I watched Winter Soldier as well. That's when I watched...
Winter Soldier X-Men's. I thought was excellent.
I think the Winter Soldier proved the how versatile the Marvel Cinematic Universe could be, because it's all right saying that these are superhero films, but that's actually quite broad.
I liked, and I know it's not probably the most popular Phase 2, but I really liked Iron Man 3.
See, that comes pretty low down on my list, just because it felt very weighted.
Right.
Like, it's the only Marvel film that felt like very dragged by all of the continuity that came before it. Because a lot of the other ones, there's references to what's happened before, but it's usually like shrugged off.
Yeah.
Or it's very minor plot point, whereas the whole plot of Iron Man 3 was Tony Stark basically he had post-traumatic stress disorder, essentially, for the entire film.
Yeah, I mean, I quite liked there was some much needed humanisation of Tony Stark, and I know he's meant to be the sort of the cocky one of the Avengers and things, but I quite liked how they really did bring him back to sort of nothing. The fact that he was too arrogant and he got to the press, and then the press he told everyone his address, and then he was a bit of a knob, and then the amount he just sort of sinks to the fact where he's like making his own gadgets again at the end, sort of like he was in the first Iron Man, having to go in that house. And I liked the Mandarin twist as well. I thought it was a very entertaining film. I liked the writer and the director, Shane Black. I think there was a lot of skill involved and wit.
I mean, I'm not sure how I'd compare him to Jon Favreau, who did the first two.
No.
Because I think the first two are a lot more similar in style.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do miss AC/DC. Where have they gone recently? They weren't in Age of Ultron or Iron Man 3. There we go, there's a message if anyone... If Kevin Feige is listening, a bit more AC/DC, please. In the Iron Man films.
Well, there's not going to be any more, is there? I think, after he does his...
no, good point, actually. Yeah, they're moving on to the sort of... Then again, he was a niche character. 8 years ago, was that when the first...
it would have been like 2007, so I think it would be around 8 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. Can't believe all of this Marvel stuff has happened in the last 8 years. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be... The challenge now is going to be transitioning out characters successfully whilst transitioning new ones in.
I think they can definitely do it, because, like, although they're, like, Thor, Captain America, Iron Man are the biggest names now, before the MCU, they were the niche characters, weren't they?
Yeah.
So as we get... I think we've got Doctor Strange, Black Panther... who else have we got coming up? Ant-Man, maybe?
Yeah, and Captain Marvel, I think, as well.
Oh, right, okay. What are your thoughts on Ant-Man? I know it's not out yet. But...
I'm still looking forward to it. I know the director's changed hands to someone who maybe might not be as experienced in that kind of a film. But from the trailers I've seen, it looks like it could be a lot of fun. It could be akin to the original Iron Man and kind of exploring the theme quite well and having...
My initial problem is that, I think you've hit it on the head, is that it might be akin to films that have come before it. It looks a tad generic for me, and Ant-Man obviously isn't a very generic superhero, which is why I thought it would have... I know I'll obviously go in it sort of not cynical, but I think Edgar Wright and his very unique style might have added to it.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how it ties into the how it does tie into the MCU, because at the moment I'm quite happy that it seems rather standalone in some aspects.
Well, originally he was meant to create Ultron, wasn't he?
Hank Pym, but I'm not sure if that's who Paul Rudd plays. I think Hank Pym might be the old man passing on the torch in this version.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I think Paul Rudd's playing whichever character it is that inherits the role from him. I've never read
Ant-Man's comic.
I've read up a little bit around it because I was interested in the film. But yeah, it was originally Hank Pym that created Ultron. I mean,
right. I'm
not sure how much of his because it obviously Hank Pym's now the old man who created the Ant-Man suit and he's passing it on. I'm not sure how much Paul Rudd's character is going to be in terms of the scientific brains. I think he might be kind of like the kind of laid back kind of guy, maybe
the test subject. This is a problem I have as well. At the moment, obviously following from Guardians of the Galaxy and that came and those films which came before it. Again, it's Paul Rudd. It's this sort of slightly funny, white British, American. Younger than middle-aged sort of character, which I feel we've started to tire on slightly. I mean, what's the difference between him and Chris Pratt, essentially?
Yeah, I mean, this ties back to my point earlier about why it may have been nice to have Spider-Man be the Miles rather than Peter. Get a bit more diversity in it.
Although I think. I've forgotten the names. Tom Holland and Asa Butterfield. I think a younger actor might actually bring a bit more fresh-facedness to a universe which comprises of pretty much the same age. Because Asa Butterfield and Tom Holland are both 18 and 19, our age, and I'm hoping that might bring a bit of freshness to the current onslaught of superheroes.
Hmm.
And I quite liked, obviously we got War Machine and Falcon are now Avengers.
Yeah, I do quite like that. I do like the Falcon.
Yeah.
I was a bit it was a shame that you didn't get more scenes in the Age of Ultron. But it's nice to see Don.
If you hadn't seen Winter Soldier and you went to see Age of Ultron, you'd be wondering, why is there a guy with wings flying around?
Yeah, I'm glad that War Machine got a slightly bigger part to play than kind of sitting on his hands like twiddling his thumbs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, he's got a fully fledged Iron Man suit. Why was he not doing anything in the first Avengers?
Yeah, so
I'm glad the Avengers are becoming a little bit more diverse, and obviously I thought Scarlet Witch was fantastic in Age of Ultron. I'm glad she's a fully fledged Avenger now. So yeah, we've got 2 women, 2 black guys, and only one one white
yeah,
American.
I like the whole end of Age of Ultron. I like what the end of Age of Ultron does set up.
Yeah, I do.
I think For the Dark World was like...
Oh yeah, that existed, didn't it?
It was entertaining enough.
It didn't add anything to me.
No, it kind of introduced this villain who I couldn't tell was Christopher Eccleston because of all the CGI.
No, I know.
And then, they kind of like, well, we've introduced this villain with all these grudges and past and interest things. Well, let's see what Loki's doing. Loki, how are you doing today? And then the film just kind of shifts, and almost the battle between Thor and the Goblin Man, I'm gonna call him Malekith. There we go.
Malekith, yeah.
Kind of became a back setting to Loki kind of prancing about the setting. I mean, I understand this was done. I believe this was a rewrite because of how popular Loki is, and I can understand.
Yeah, they had to add more Loki scenes.
But yeah, we were saying about Thor, we understand why it was rewritten, but it was kind of like, it almost kind of put the guy in the back seat, the main villain, had to take the back seat as Loki kind of. It was just an awful lot of setting up for Ragnarok in the end. Yeah. So I'm not sure there's not really been many plot details released about Thor 3.
No.
But it sounds funny because it's like numbers 4-3, 2-1.
4-3. 4-3. What was I going to say? Yes, actually, while we're on the Thor and that sort of side of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, obviously the next Avengers film is Infinity War. I'm hoping they'll focus or at least detail more on the Infinity Stones, which we've seen a few of, because I mean, obviously you and I are we look up and we see what these are about, or we've read about them and we've done this and the other, but to a casual viewer, which the Marvel Universe is very accustomed to, I mean, my girlfriend didn't. When we saw Avengers 2, she didn't. I had to explain about what all the guy at the end, Thanos, and the Infinity Gauntlet, and what the Infinity Stone was in Vision's head. Do you think that's going over the heads a bit of the common audience?
I think the Infinity Stones will probably appear in every Phase 3 Marvel film just to kind of hammer it home.
Yeah.
There'll be some... even in, Civil War, where it'll be more about the internal conflict of the superheroes. Vision is set to appear now in that film, and there'll probably just be somebody go, "Look, Vision Stone!" and just, point at him. Just to make it so it's fresh more... in the audience's minds.
That was a slight problem I had with Age of Ultron, is that I loved the scene where they were debating whether to create Vision or not, and they had a small little fight in there with Iron Man fighting Captain America and stuff, but then Thor turned up having had a bath and said, "Yes, this stone needs to go in this guy's forehead because I had a bath," and that was really, I mean.
Yeah,
even on the second viewing it went in, but on the first viewing it sort of, because of what was going on in that scene as well, it did go over my head a little bit. Because Thor just buggered off, met up with the guy from the first Thor, and then said, "Yes, I need to go and bath. I didn't have a clue what was going on there the first time, to be honest. But
yeah,
again, I'm hoping they will make more mention to it.
From what I hear, the whole thing with 4 was either longer or it just wasn't there, and then that was that was some Marvel executives kind of meddling.
Yeah.
With that kind of plot line, so as a result, he kind of like goes, "I'm going to Bath." He comes back and goes, "I know everything."
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
It is rather. I think it's quite funny when Vision picks up Thor's hammer after all. That was well built up to as well.
It was, yeah. Phil, we've hit the answer to Life, the Universe, and everything. We're at 42 minutes. Ish.
Well, I think
we won't get to a Marvel versus DC debate. That will have to wait to a future date. But if you had to sum up the current DC universe, would you put one word on it?
I'd say.
I'd
say I'm optimistic, but cynical about it.
Ah. You could say you're a cynical optimist.
Almost could say that.
Well, that's a neat time to round off on. Congratulations for that, Phil. That wasn't in the script. We don't have a script.
I mean, what I will say in regards to the Infinity Stones is it wouldn't surprise me if that's the plot of Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Ah, yes, of course, yeah, we got that side as well, bring it into. We had it on such a neat point to end, Phil. Why did you have to bring it back?
I'm sorry. I thought I'd just add an addendum to what we were saying.
Okay, that's the prologue? No, that's the one that comes before. Epilogue. That's the epilogue.
Yes.
Okie dokie. Well, do you want to round up or shall I?
Oh, well, I'll say that if you enjoyed this first episode of the Cynical Optimists, then you can subscribe to the channel that it's been uploaded to for more, and tell us what bits you like, what bits you didn't. Tell us what you think about the Marvel Phase 2, which your favourite was, which your favourite wasn't. I was meant to say which was your least favourite, but that just kind of came out wrong.
Tell us what's the DC movie you're looking forward to most.
Yes.
If any.
We will be back next week where our discussion will be on E3, because it will be the week before E3, and that's when all the new gaming announcements will be. But
hang on, we're doing a podcast about E3 before they make the announcements at E3.
We're doing the predictions.
Then the future podcast will be looking back on E3.
Yes.
That makes sense.
It does make sense.
And we'll also be talking about TV and movie news, which I don't know yet. I'll be seeing... What's the next film I'm seeing? I'll be seeing Insidious 3 this Friday, so I'll be talking a bit about that. That's one of my favourite horror franchises at the moment. And that's generally about it, isn't it?
I think so.
More to come, obviously.
Yes. Let us know if you enjoyed the pilot, and we will see you next week.
I've been NGM.
I've been haddowinc.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.